Hello, Michael Mackey, running for president, coming back at you today a little casual, a little free-spirited. I was going to talk to you about the Depression of 1920, but something happened today that made me change my mind. I brought up the fact that I was running for president, and this woman that happened to overhear me started laughing hysterically. And of course I said, well, you know, I really am. I'm just trying to fix things because, you know, we're pointing $14.5 trillion in deficit and somebody's got to fix it. And she said, don't worry, everything will be all right. And I go, how do you figure? And she goes, we're just going to tax the rich more. And I went, oh, you're a liberal, aren't you? And she said, yes. And she was laughing maniacally, which kind of is strange. But anyway, I thought a lot about it, and I thought that I was going to explain what liberal means now in comparison to what it really is supposed to mean. Now, if you're a liberal, you're progressive, statist, socialist, Marxist. Pretty much liberal is mixed up in that whole thing. Now, the liberals and the statists and the progressives and the Marxists will always argue that they're not and they're for democracy. But when communism advertises communism, they talk about democracy. So don't get wrapped up in the word democracy. We shouldn't be using it. We're a republic. But let me explain how liberal and conservative, what it's supposed to mean. When our founding fathers first wrote the Constitution, it took them a long time. They went back and forth and up and down. They couldn't figure out what to do. And they finally sent it to the states to be ratified. And there were two factions back then. There were the Federalist and the anti-federalist. Now, the anti-federalist would be the conservatives of today, and the Federalist would be the old school term for liberal. The Federalists were most of the people that wrote and were working on the Constitution. They were the landowners and the intellectuals and the teachers and of the ilk from that sort. The Anti-Federalists wanted less government involvement. And what the Federalists did is they said, hey, look, we put in this system of checks and balances that will ensure that we won't have a problem with checks and balances and we won't have a problem with big government. So eventually the Federalists convinced the Anti-Federalist, and the liberals sort of won. And we're going to call that spot on a linear scale between let's say democracy on one end, and you can call it communism or Marxism or socialism or whatever you want on the other end. So we were set close to a democracy, but a little bit left of that, putting democracy on the right, and a little bit more left of that than the other anti-federalists want. So as things progressed through the years, the anti-federalists became known as conservatives, and the federalists became known as liberals. Now, this meant that in the battle for votes in the presidency and the Congress, that sometimes the liberals would win and we'd move a little bit right of, or a little bit left of center, putting us in a more liberal, or I don't know, more government. And sometimes the conservatives won, and we weren't always called Republican Democrats, so I'm trying to be simple here, which put us a little more towards democracy and a little bit smaller government. Eventually that got turned into Democrats and Republicans. Republicans were supposed to be the conservatives, and Democrats were supposed to be the liberals. Now, liberal just means statist, progressive, and pretty much Republicans and Democrats alike, for the most part, are liberal. I mean, even the conservative, the more conservative ones, except for a few exceptions, are liberal. They're for government, big government. So that's the difference between the terminology. Now, here was my problem with the lady laughing maniacally. And I'm trying to stay even-keeled and not be too politically incorrect, but I am not a politically correct person, and I'm going to state this for the record. There are socialist, statist, progressive countries out there. If you don't want to live under the Constitution, the banner of the Constitution, the banner of liberty and freedom and justice for all, the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, move. Why change the whole country? Move to a country you're happy in. Don't change our country, throw us $14.5 trillion in debt with no solutions, and say everything will be all right because we're going to print more money and we're going to tax the rich. When you tax the rich, all you do is you hurt business. Now, no business is too big to fail, so all big businesses have to pay back their bailouts. And that's the first thing I'm going to say when I get into office. Every bailout that we've ever given to any corporation, company, or business, they're going to have to pay it back. Period. And that's going right to our deficit. The taxpayers don't have to put up with this anymore. There's one way to fix our country. That's cut government, cut spending, get rid of the Fed, stop printing money, and cut taxes. Just like if you did your homework like I asked and you looked up Harding and Coolidge, you'll see they did in 1920, and by 1923-24 we were moving into the roaring 20s until the 1930s when socialism really stepped in and took over in America. That was a big push, and then it creeped, and now is another big push. But anyway, I'm signing out now. It is Friday, and I just got off work. I'm casual, as you can see. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and remember, vote Mackey. Go to www.voteformackey.com. That's www.voteformackey.com. See ya!